Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to your next class of O-Level English Language. My name is Abid Bajwa and I hope all of you must be hale and healthy and staying safe during these tough days of coronavirus. Dear students, today we are going to explore first section of English language, paper 1, named Directed Writing. Before we start, I want to suggest all of my new viewers to watch my previous video in which I explained a complete overview of paper 1 and paper 2 along with its marks allocation, time allowed and other important information. I would also like to suggest you all to watch this whole video if you want to win maximum marks for your O-Level English Language paper 1 in Directed Writing. So let's start today's lecture. Thank you. Alright students, let's start today's lecture of Directed Writing paper 1 English Language. The topic name of this video is Directed Writing Feature and Common Errors. Directed writing perhaps is the most easy and the most difficult task in whole English language paper. What makes it difficult and what makes it easy? It all depends our attitude towards attempting this paper. If we consider some of the features which will be obviously explained in this video, and we'll try to avoid some of the common errors that will obviously be explained in this video as well, then we can win the maximum marks in English language paper 1. So in this video I'll be explaining you a detailed analogy of the common elements that we can use to get the maximum marks in directed writing. I will also explain some common errors that most of the students commit while attempting this paper. So please make sure that you watch this video in its full detailed length. So as the name of this section suggests, the candidates are expected to follow a set of directions while attempting this part. That is why this part in particular is called directed writing. Kindly consider all the features which are given to score the maximum marks for this section. Students, right now on your screen you can see an image of directed writing which I have taken from a previous O-Levels English language paper examination, and this image will help you understand the format and the particulars it will bring for you for all the students to write on it. As you can see, section 1 directed writing, and then it says you are advised to write between 200 and 300 words. Total marks for this part are 30, and then there is an instruction about the 15 marks of task instruction and 15 marks of language. So I'm just skipping this screenshot, and so that I have explained all these things in the next slides. So starting from the features, the examiner introduces a situation on a specific genre of writing. There are so many tasks, there are so many assignments, there are so many styles of writing on which an examiner can give you a task so that you can write on it. For example, it can be a letter, it can be a speech, it can be a magazine article, etc. Now students will plan to write around 200 to 300 words, no less than 200 words and no more than 300 words. 10 to 15 words is an exception. To help students proceed, 3 bullet points are also included in every directed writing section. These 3 bullet points are also called content points, and as I've made it clear already that as it is called directed writing, so there is a set of directions. So these 3 bullet points will justify, will explain, will give you a guideline on which you can track, and then you can write your composition. Students will get 15 marks for task fulfillment and 15 marks for correct use of language. When I say 15 marks for task fulfillment, So that means all those 3 bullet points above mentioned are equally divided into 5 marks, bringing you equal marks for every bullet point, and that together they will make 15 marks, and that will be given to you depending upon how justified and how clearly you have explained them. And then 15 marks are for correct use of language. In correct use of language, there are a lot of things which are included in it. It includes correct use of grammar, parts of speech. It also includes sentence structure and spelling mistakes, probably the most important thing in O-levels English. So moving on, students will be given one situational task, as I have mentioned some. So here I am just giving you a list of these things. These tasks can be named like, it can be letter. Now you know that letter can be of 2 types. It can be either informal letter or a formal letter. When we have a report writing, we have speech, we have account, and then article writing, and we have leaflet and brochure. Any of these kind of writing tasks can be given to you, and unfortunately you are given no choice. There's only one task is given, and you have to attempt it whether you like it or not. Formats. I have seen so many students putting themselves in argument, having a long detailed blogs and discussion. They talk about formats things, but there are some myths busted. Number one, there is no specific format style good for you for situational writing in O-level English language. So you need not to remember a detailed long list of formats that you need to write, because I told you there is no specific form style for any situational, any functional writing in English language paper 1123. The given tasks include an instruction to start your work with "my dear," and then it depends, respected principal, honorable police officer, or anything. So make sure that you do not need to write addresses when the candidate or the examiner has already directed you to start your assignment, to start your task with a given dear things. So important thing, you do not need to waste time in writing addresses, as they do not win any marks for you. The formats demands for letter, speech, report, article, and account may vary to each other. I mean, it's true that in some of the cases, for example, let's talk about the report writing or account writing, maybe a heading is required, and then you need to write certain other elements which are properly or specifically required for certain piece of writing, but remember, not for all. Now, what can be tone that a candidate is required to use while attempting his directed writing part? So first of all, you must know what a tone is. You must consider language tone. So language tone before you write a situational writing. In general terms, language tone means an attitude or manner of words, towards choosing a words to explain a given situation. For example, you need to imagine that in which situation are you writing. For example, if you are going to write to your best friend, or maybe your brother, or maybe your parents, your tone must be quite light and then informal. But this is not going to be the situation when you are going to write to a higher authority, for example, a manager or a health officer, or maybe the principal of your school or college. So tone changes. Language tone can be formal or informal. As I told you, it can be serious or comic, sad or cheerful. It can be sarcastic or persuasive, and even augmentative. It all depends that what is the requirement of your task. And then if you would ask me, I would simply say that there is nothing like formal and informal. This is actually the tone or the situation or maybe the audience that gives you a hint, that indicates, that gives you a signal that okay, this type of language tone is required for a particular piece of writing. Another important thing is audience. As I mentioned earlier, there is nothing like formal or informal in my dictionary, because my audience is going to explain that what type of language should I write in. So to know your audience is perhaps the most vital factor in directed writing. So you must know, please mark my words, must know who your audience is. It means who you are writing for. It can be your principal, it can be your police officer of your area, a manager of some organization, it can be a newspaper editor, or it can be your best friend. So obviously, if you will just dig deeper trying to understand what type of language you are using, so obviously, as you can see, you are not going to use same language tone for your best friend for writing a letter or your school principal. It would definitely be different. Knowing your audience, what type of language you are going to write for your task, it helps you obviously to determine this thing. Next is register. Many of my students would be unfamiliar what register is, because when you go to the upper level, just new literary terms pop in, linguistics pop in, and then it's a must for you all guys that you must know what these things means. A register is defined as the way a writer uses language differently in different writing styles in different circumstances. Isn't it? Isn't it interesting? So see, just imagine you have gone with to some riverside along with your friends. What type of language you'll be using when you are communicating with your friends? This is not, written language, but actually it is a part of detailed discussion that you're going to write. So you need to understand what register is. Same way, it's equally related with writing parts as well. We should adopt different writing styles when we are writing to a friend or writing to a police officer. It all depends that in which situation we are. It sets limits to formality and informality for language. It's a big hint that most of the students, most of the candidates get. If you are accustomed to know what a register is, it will be quite easy for you to understand what is the requirement of your vocabulary, sentence structure, and other grammatical requirements. Now, factors such as your audience, purpose, context, syntax, lexis are all related to each other. I know there are some few terms which probably new for you guys, for example, syntax, taxes, lexis, and I'll be explaining in my next lectures as well. So moving on, we have some mnemonics. What are mnemonics? Another additional in your vocabulary. Mnemonics are actually arrangements of some letters, alphabetics, ideas or symbol which assists you to remember something. So I'm going to give you a couple of mnemonics so that you'll be able to just follow them when you are attempting your directed writing part. The first is SAP. SAP. Remember, whenever you are going to attempt a directed writing part, remember SAP. There are three things, SAP. You must remember them. You must try to make a part to this in your task. S stands for situation. So you consider in what situation you are writing, who your audience is, and then the purpose. So purpose is a mistake that most of the people forget. Most of the students forget when they are writing. So SAP will guide you. It will bring you on a road that will guide you to a particular destination in directed writing. Next, 5 C's. 5 C's is another important mnemonics that I have introduced for you over here in this video. 5 C's will assist writing in an impressive piece of way. What are they? C1 stands for coherence. Make sure whatever you are going to write, it must be coherent. It must be regular, arranged, not at 6s and 7s. You are when your composition or directed writing or whatever you're writing is not making any sense. The ideas, the information, the programs, the plans must be interrelated to each other, and it must be written under some purpose. Second C is control. I have seen students they just pick a pen and they keep writing and writing and writing. They don't consider how many words they have written. Some of them, I have seen them that they even have written, they write 400 words, 500 words. So make sure it's going to be a penalty. You are going to lose so many marks if you are not under control. So make sure you are writing with control. Second is consistency. Again, I have seen students, they are very consistent in the first paragraph, but when they go to the next paragraph, they lose their temper and then they do not mind, they just keep on writing and dotting and writing. So they lose consistency when you keep writing without your planning. Next we have your confidence. Make sure until and unless you do not have confidence to write something, you will never be able to come out with a brilliant piece of writing. So make sure you must adopt I can do it attitude. Conceive. Conceive means delivery. That, I mean, if you cannot deliver, probably you will not be able to set a good rapport in the mind of your examiner. So whatever sets in your mind, it must be taken out, it must be printed out. So there is only way out, and that is your pen. So try to conceive. Now the second part of the video is avoid some errors. Avoid committing these errors, and I tell you, you will see a heap rise in your marks, a great and immediate, sudden raise in your marks and your practice if you will keep on practicing and avoiding these mistakes. The first one, the students do not read the instruction properly. As I have told you, mentioned earlier in the beginning, that directed writing is directly related, is related with the instructions. So if you are going to ignore the instructions given in the tasks, you are going to lose a great deal of marks, I am telling you. So make sure you need to understand what the instructions are. Read your task properly and then make a plan and then start writing. Students do not start their tasks properly. Rather than starting the task with given instruction, respected principal, they write addresses, which is probably not required and not needed, and it will not help you getting any marks. Students do not explain or discuss all the given 3 bullet points. I have seen students, they write a good introduction, they just explain 2 bullet points and they do not even dare to touch the third one. In some of the cases, they miss the middle one, the third one, and I have seen missing the first one as well. So make sure if you miss 1 bullet point, you are going to miss 5 whole marks. They use improper formats, even when the format is not required. So please do not spend time writing complicated formats. They do not include a salutation. Salutation means my dear father, a respected principal. So this is salutation. Greeting, it's true that in most of the most of the cases, greeting is only given an informal piece of writing. For example, when you are going to write to your friends, your family, your peers, then you can talk about how they are feeling, how was the weekend, how your summer holidays going on, blah blah blah. And then introduction. Please spend 3 to 5 lines writing an introduction, what you are going to write. I have seen students directly popping onto the first bullet point, and then that makes no sense. Please, you must write 2 to 3 lines, or at least first paragraph, spend on write the task which is given, question statement. Do not forget to write signing off. What is signing off? Yours truly, reported by, or you're sincerely, you're faithfully. This is called signing off. When I check and when I mark papers of my students in the previous classes, I still remember some names, some faces who were accustomed to never write the signing off part. Name and signature when required. Students use informal tone for language where formal tone is required. So this is, I have already explained it in detail. They make spelling mistakes. I often say that making spelling mistakes in English language is equal to committing suicide. So I do understand that committing mistakes when you are writing another subject, let's say it can be biology or physics or chemistry, can be bearable. Your chemistry teacher or your biology teacher may be not going to just be angry with you, but unfortunately in English language the case is completely different. If you make a spelling mistake, you are going to get a negative opinion from your teacher and you are going to lose so many marks, I am telling you. Students use incorrect English grammar, tenses, part of speech, sentence structure. I promise I will be making a detailed video explaining all these grammatical things, and that will help you. By the way, if you will avoid committing these mistakes, you will be able to get good marks in directed writing. Students start the task directly from a bullet point without an introduction. In the above mentioned points I have explained this thing. They do not plan before writing. So please, please, please remember, if you are going to start, if you are going to write, always make a plan. Compositions, tasks, written, situational, functional, whatever you write. And I think this rule applies to other subjects as well. When you start writing without making a plan, it's not going to be very precise, accurate, and up to the mark piece of writing, remember. They do not review their task when it is completed. Once you are done with your task, it is your obligation, it is your duty now that you need to view this, actually review this. So follow this trick: view, review, and then view again before you submit it to examiner. So that's all for directed writing instructions. In my coming video, I'll be taking one task. It can be a letter writing, it can be speech or report, and then we'll be making a detailed video on that. Thanks for watching my video. Thanks for bearing me. If you have any question, give me your feedback. Tell me, was this video helpful for you? Give your feedback. You can contact me, email at abidbajwa@hotmail.com. You can WhatsApp me at the given number. Good luck and stay safe, and best of luck for your directed writing parts. Thank you very much.